Well, hey man, seriously, thank you for letting me crash at your place.
It was no problem. I mean, you did scream a lot, which was kind of annoying, but all in all, you were better than the last two guys.
For sure, for sure. Well, I probably should get going. Wait a minute, I almost forgot something. Would you wanna come with me to college? You would? That's great. That is awesome to hear. Well, we should really get going, okay? See ya, Chris. Man, this is gonna be so much fun. Let's get going. Oh, jeez, why the f did you click on this video? It's me, Anthony. What has it been, like 2 months? It's almost felt like 8 to me. Huh. Well, traffic must have been pretty bad on the 405, huh? A lot has changed, actually, so let me fill you in. School was supposed to be IRL until this Gex virus started spreading from Ohio. Now, it's got everyone indoors, and my class is online until they can find a cure. But, you guys won't believe it. I dropped out of animation to pursue video instead. Who would have thought that using Flipnote Studio and head bobbing was frowned upon? At least the tracing got me in. But making videos on your own has really proven to be tough. I don't understand how people do it, especially talking to a camera. Freaky. But the worst part of it is I really haven't had time to figure out myself in this room. I was all set on becoming something new and really changing myself, but I don't know, maybe I should go back to how things were. Maybe I could do both, but only a maniac would ever try that. Holy shit! Look, it was going to happen eventually, and hell, I didn't even know it was happening today. Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1, one of the most infamous Sonic titles to date, with some people even putting it under Sonic 06 in their tier lists. Hell, even most die-hard fans would agree. But not me. What? You really thought this was gonna be just your average review of Sonic the Hedgehog 4? Oh no, no, no. You see, this is Anthony you're talking to, and he has quite a different opinion from your diaper shells, and some call me whinies. That's not to say I won't be trashing the game, no, far from it, but I do believe we need to reevaluate the way we look at it. Let's start from the beginning, with my specific perspective of the game. 2010 was one of the peak years of my Sonic phase, with me dressing up in costumes of the character, buying the action figures, and going to Toys R Us every weekend to grab a new copy of the Sonic comic book series. I had lightly heard about the release of Sonic 4, but I never saw the real lead up to its release. I was just happy to be seeing so many Sonic games being made that on Christmas Eve of that year, I asked my parents if I could download it to our Xbox 360, and they were kind enough to let me do so. But let me remind you that this was 2010, and so the Xbox that I was downloading the game to was an original white model my dad had purchased on launch. I was never a believer in red circles, and didn't expect anything to go wrong. But it did. That night, the dreaded red ring of death had finally hit my system, and my excitement fell right down the drain. Okay, looking back on it now, it is really fucking funny that of all the games, Sonic 4 was the one to kill my console. But in that moment, I felt like the world wanted to make this the worst Christmas ever. But not if my parents had anything to say about it. While my brain was still grieving over my Xbox's death, my parents decided that we would head over to Walmart to get some items that we needed for our family's Christmas party. With our minivan drive gas, my dad told us that he was going to go fill it up while me and my mom shopped. But when we arrived back home, sitting right there in the middle of the living room was a brand new Xbox 360 with the Kinect. Instead of getting gas, my dad had rushed over to the electronics department and grabbed a brand new system, drove as fast as he could back home with it with enough time to give me no hints. It is still one of the best gifts I've ever received. You would think that after something as traumatic as that I would have thought the game had some sort of bad omen. But no, I didn't even hesitate at the second chance I was given. You have to remember, I didn't have a Sega Genesis at this time, nor any of the collections that allowed you to play the original games, so this right here was the next best thing with the addition of modern graphics and controls. It really reminded me of New Super Mario Bros. In that respect. And trust me, I'm going to be coming back to that comparison later. It wasn't until recent that I learned about the game being mobile only initially. Knowing that fact now, it actually makes sense why you can count all the different levels with one hand. Unless you're an amputee. But they later remembered that they're Sega, and having a game fail on mobile will hurt way more than having a game fail on every console. They made it multi-platform and changed the title to be Sonic the Hedgehog 4, Episode 1. Oh come on guys, you really just couldn't leave it at Sonic 4? In what world do they live in that large titles are okay? That's why the presidents of the United States of America only have 2 popular songs, and they're each only 1 word. Okay, but seriously, after booting the game and being treated with the good old Sega logo from Sonic 2, you get to see what free labor looks like. Honestly, did they just give a 4-year-old a copy of Flash and tell him to find everything off of Google Images? I could have done a better job with a spoon. Everything visually about the game just screams low effort. It quite honestly looks like they took the original 640p resolution mobile game and do nothing with it to make it fit modern TVs. Sonic looks like he was bathing in butter, and the foreground and background elements look paper thin, with no separation. Okay, I get it. So far I haven't really had anything good to say about the game, but that's just because I wanted to get the glaring issues out of the way first, so we could start getting into the good stuff. The plot of this game is really simple. And probably because it's just Sonic 1 and 2 combined. I'm not saying I don't like this, because I do, but I know for many this just shows a huge lack of creativity being put into the game. You know what game also did this though? Oh snap. Yeah, so you're just gonna sit here and tell me that this game deserves that much higher of a score than this one? I'm not saying it's apples to apples and that both games deserve the same scores, but one is definitely overrated and the other is underrated. Again, growing up, I wanted to play lots of the classics, but just didn't understand the concept of buying the old game and original hardware to play them at the time. Both of these games were what introduced me into their respective franchises and gave me an understanding of what they were originally like. So for those who grew up on the original games, I totally get it. This has no value to it and gives you no reason to play it. But for me, a virgin to the classic Sonic games, this gave me a great summary of what Sonic 1 and 2 were like to play. I think that's a good lead into the levels of this game, which are all copies of different popular levels from Sonic 1 and 2 and mixes them in a way that I find to be nice and flavorable. Sure, with a large amount of the levels being filled to the brim with boosters and springs, it does make it feel as though you're playing less of a game and more just riding a roller coaster at Six Flags. But is this really a bad thing? For little 7-year-old Anthony, the lack of challenge and more entertainment is what left this lasting impression of speedy fun that Sonic has to offer. And I hate roller coasters. I'm literally pissing myself. And it isn't fair to say that the whole game is lacking in challenge, because I found there to be some very fun and difficult moments in the game that kept me on the edge of my seat. I'd argue that Splash Hill's Wrecking Ball boss acts more as a tutorial, because the boss fights after that one offered quite a bit of difficulty and got even more challenging as you progressed. Again, I realize that they aren't original bosses to this game, and maybe that's why they feel like the most interesting parts sometimes, but that's fine. I'll still argue the case that this game didn't need to add a whole lot of new content, since it truly acts as a gateway for the youth to learn about Sonic's history and roots. You also need to remember that whether you like it or not, this concept is what led to games like Sonic Generations and Sonic Mania, some of the most beloved Sonic games in the modern day. Maybe it was a good idea after all to try and bring back what was old into the new. Well, if Sega can do it, so can I. There's just some things about my past that I absolutely love, but a little reinventing couldn't hurt. Oh, and not just me in this room. No, I believe you can fix any old thing with a little bit of new.